Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, on the eve of the second round of national elections in Ethiopia, some voters in the Somali region say that they don't see the point in turning out because of an opposition boycott. The ruling Prosperity Party's already won a majority in earlier polls. Also, South Africa's biggest political parties launched their manifestos ahead of local elections, likely to see the ruling ANC face a tougher time of it. Its reputation's been eroded over years of corruption allegations. And Tunisia's president names a little-known geologist as the country's first female prime minister. Najla Boudin's been asked to form a government as quickly as possible. But first, in Ethiopia's Somali region, several opposition parties have pulled out of the second round of national elections due to be held on Thursday. Some say that they've been sidelined during registration and have also accused the Electoral Board of being too close to the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. His Prosperity Party managed to secure a new 5-year term during the first round of voting in June. But the September 30th exercise is still going ahead. Many parties boycotting the vote say that there's no point in taking part. Maria Girth-Nicolescu tells us more.
Jigjiga, the capital of Ethiopia's Somali region. After a 3-month delay, it is ready to hold regional and parliamentary elections. But just a few weeks ago, opposition parties withdrew from the race.
There is a big fraud in the election process, in registration of the voters, and also registration of candidates. Because of that, we withdraw from the election. We lost a lot of effort, yes, a lot of time and material.
The Ugandan Liberation Front campaigns for independence from Ethiopia. It had not been allowed to participate in elections for over 25 years. The party was created after the Ugandan War 40 years ago, following Somalia's occupation of the region. The party's boycott has left some locals skeptical of the legitimacy of the election. Some say they won't be voting.
This election would be good if there was opposition competing in it, if different parties participate and if people are free. If there's only one party, people become demotivated to vote. So whether people vote or not, that party has already won.
The Somali government says opposition parties have withdrawn because they lack popular support. The region's president insists that the Electoral Board will ensure a fair vote.
This is the most competitive, most open elections that the region has ever known. The opposition parties are active, they are offices, they are on the media, they are talking to people, they are presenting alternative ideas, they are criticizing the government, they are not being harassed, they are not being arrested. This has not been the case before.
The Ethiopian parliament is set to designate the next prime minister early October. But some communities will not be represented. The vote's been cancelled in the war-torn Tigray region and around 20 other constituencies for security reasons.
Telecoms networks have been shut down and motorcycles banned in the northwestern Nigeria state of Kaduna as part of a crackdown on armed gangs that are behind a wave of kidnappings for ransom. Authorities are trying to stop coordination between criminals who've carried out a string of mass school abductions and fatal attacks on civilian and military targets. Local governments are also forcing all commercial vehicles to be painted yellow and black to help security agents identify them. A highly anticipated report in South Africa has found the former health minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, and other top officials were corrupt in their awarding of a multi-million-dollar coronavirus contract. The Special Investigation Unit says Mkhize was close to people behind a firm paid to educate the public about COVID-19, and that some of the money from the $10 million tender was used to renovate Mkhize's property. Now, he's denied wrongdoing and resigned last month. Investigators still recommend that President Cyril Ramaphosa take action against Mkhize and that the Health Ministry's former Director General be criminally charged for financial misconduct. Staying with South Africa, 3 of its biggest political parties have launched their party manifestos ahead of next month's local government elections. The ruling ANC's been in power since 1994, but is likely to have a tougher time of it during the upcoming vote. Accusations of corruption have seen its reputation take a hit.
South Africa's president didn't hesitate to dance to ramp up support for his ANC party. Local elections are taking place in 1 month. The ANC recently admitted its shortcomings following corruption allegations under former President Jacob Zuma. Cyril Ramaphosa told a rally that his party, which has been in power since 1994, was changing.
We want our people to come out on the basis of this manifesto that we are presenting to the nation, to see how serious the ANC is, how committed we are, how we are renewing ourselves, how we are revitalizing ourselves.
The main opposition party, DA, decided to launch its manifesto online because of COVID-19 restrictions. It said it was fielding a candidate in every ward across the country for the first time in history, but it is still struggling to shake off its image as a predominantly white party. The radical leftist EFF also unveiled its manifesto. Its leader, Julius Malema, said white capitalists were controlling the ANC and that his party would help the poorest South Africans.
Our manifesto is based on the truthful observation that our people are landless, our people are jobless. Our manifesto is based on the truthful observation that local government is incapable.
The ANC suffered its worst electoral setback during the last local polls in 2016. Ramaphosa is hoping it will not fare even worse in a month's time.
In Uganda, 2 opposition lawmakers have been charged with murder and remanded in custody for the second time in a month. Mohamed Segerinya and Alan Sewanyana were each charged in a court in the city of Masaka, south of Kampala. The allegations against the MPs stem from a rash of killings in central Uganda in an opposition stronghold that left at least 26 people dead. On Tuesday, police had said the pair were being held on treason charges. It's not clear whether those are still being pursued. Both men are members of the NUP party of opposition leader Bobi Wine. His backers say that the charges are politically motivated and have been cooked up by President Yoweri Museveni's government. In other news, Tunisia's president named the Arab world's first ever female prime minister. Najla Bouden Rumdan, the university lecturer, was unknown to politics and must now help steer the country through an economic crisis. However, it's President Kais Saied who will head up the cabinet, retaining the lion's share of power in the country after he seized wide-ranging powers 2 months ago. Peter O'Brien has more.
Whisked from her life as professor of geophysics, Najla Bouden Rumdan now finds herself in Tunisia's second top job. Shortly after appointing her, President Kais Saied welcomed the country's first female prime minister and reminded her that her inbox is rather full already.
ويكون الفريق الذي تتولين إن شاء الله رئاسته متجانسا يعمل أولا على مقاومة الفساد وهذه العملية.
The new PM, who didn't speak on her first appearance in her new role, has worked for the World Bank at the Education Ministry, but aside from that has little government experience. President Saied asked her to propose a cabinet in the coming hours or days. He's been under pressure to name a government since July, when he dismissed the last Prime Minister, suspended Parliament and assumed executive authority in a move that critics called a coup. Last week, Saied extended these emergency measures, allowing himself to rule by decree. That means Najla Bouden Rumdan will likely have less power than previous Prime Ministers, but will nevertheless have to act quickly to secure relief from the country's large amount of debt. Tunisia faces a looming financial crisis after years of stagnation were aggravated by the pandemic and political uncertainty.
And finally, the daredevil acrobatics of spinning attracts crowds of hundreds of people in South Africa. The official motorsport has underground roots, as it began in townships in the 80s when gangsters would show off by stunting and spinning cars whilst hanging out open doors. Today, professional spinners travel the world to compete in their pimped-up rides. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
If you like sports cars, smoke and acrobatics, you'll definitely enjoy spinning. Today, it's an official motorsport in South Africa. It all began under apartheid when gangsters stole luxury cars and then showed them off in their townships. Nowadays, spectators pay to come and watch spinning.
Thursday here, you get people that come from New York, Australia, wherever, to come and witness spinning. It's an attraction now in South Africa, but this is our first show since COVID.
Drivers spend hours customizing their cars.
Car spinning is a form of motorsport where you are allowed to do what you want and be whoever you want to be. It's a freestyle kind of sport. It's so much fun. And the reason why I'm spinning is to show females that you can do anything you set your mind to doing.
The latest show attracted more than 1,000 spectators who paid about €3 to attend.
The reason why we come here is because we basically got a different lifestyle. We got a different hobby. We love spinning, we love smelling smoke. That's what we love doing.
Critics denounce a noisy and polluting activity, but fans stress it's a multiracial entertainment that helps them forget about the drugs and violence that are so prevalent in their communities.
Well, that's it for Eye in Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.
Sudan's West Kordofan region is sitting on one of the country's largest oil reserves. Chinese-Sudanese cooperation in massive oil drilling and production have caused an unprecedented humanitarian crisis.
People drink from these plastic containers used in oil production.
There's a record number of illnesses, newborns with malformations and disabilities.
And with the Chinese, no one knew what was going on, other than the negative impact people were seeing.
A rare investigation into the dark side of Sudan's oil industry on Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.